Hi there, I'm Taco Town. Apologies if you hear any breathing noises, but this mic is super sensitive, and frankly, it's new to me, so I have no idea where to position it yet to get rid of those. Most of you probably don't know me, and for those of you who do, fuck you. I'm going to be talking about the Team Fortress 2 economy and the dire state it's in right now. It's, I don't know if you've looked at it in any way in the past decade, anyone, Bueller. But it's not good. See, I've been trading items, mostly buying and collecting, for a pretty long time now. Started playing the game in 2012, 2013-ish, and really started collecting around the gunmetal update. And back then, I got one of the peaks of my collection, something still highly sought after today, my searing plasma antlers. Now, what did I pay for those back then? Well, back then, I paid a total of I think 400 keys in mixed items. These days, well, there are a lot more than that. I've had my pair for over a decade at this point, and the only other pair that exists last had a reprice at almost 3,000 keys, roughly $5,000, and I know for a fact that they've sold since then for more because I ran a new owner in a random game. That's a lot more than I paid by multiple times. But antlers are a limited item, being an all-class unusual misc and all. They're not something a lot of people have access to, even way back in the day when I bought them, because I liked the gibbous and I wanted an unusual wear with it. So, let's instead look at something else I've got that's a bit of a better litmus test. Molten Mallard Well-Rounded Rifleman. I'm a big fan of the Rifleman as a hat, and I really like Molten Mallard as an effect. So I bought this one for, I think, about 40 keys, equivalent to use in Man vs. the Machine. Now, they're not there anymore because I checked before I made the script, but there were buyers at around 200 keys about 6 months ago while I was browsing. Mallard's not really considered a good effect, and while the Rifleman is a very good hat, at that price you could sell the Rifleman, or sell the Mallard Rifleman and buy a high-end first-generation effect for that price, like Sunbeams, and I was really considering doing that. Now, why has this all happened? Well, there's two main reasons, and they're not even new ones. Consolidation and monopolization. Used to be a bunch of sites you could go to for trading, and thousands of people you could deal with to do so. Now there's a handful of people at the very top who buy everything in 2 to 3 sites that all transactions go through, and everyone else is just kind of picking up the crumbs. With small tier trading? You're talking to a bot, or you're going to scrap.tf, which is run by pedophiles. When cash trading? Well, you're dealing with pedos again. And with the top willing to buy you out, or you're dealing with scammers again. You want to actually deal with someone real? Sorry, you're probably dealing with their bot, or you're dealing with someone who's going to jack up the price because you want something that they've got, or rare chance you actually deal with someone reasonable. That's rare, because most of the times it's going to be, oh look, one of a handful of people at the top of the economy. Again. See, way back in the day, we had sites like Outpost. For those of you who weren't around back then, outpost.tf let people list whatever they wanted for whatever they wanted to trade for it, be that keys, metal, or other items. There was no centralized value on anything, and people could be as generous or stupid greedy as they liked. It was all up to the market. List your crap too high, and nobody was even going to bother. Then came scrap.tf and backpack.tf. The centralization of the economy into those two sites led to the popularization of Backpack's price list, which these days are the gospel for trading. Now, a general price list everyone can use makes it a lot easier for people to not get ripped off, but it also means people nickel and dime for an exact trade instead of being able to just put up the hat for whatever other hat they wanted, and then having both parties leave happy after the trade ended. I've watched the same thing happen in Magic the Gathering with the rise of sites like TCG Player. The rise of centralization also led to the rise of monopolization. Geel's bots, developed for scrap.tf, proved that trading could be automated, and, well, most trading was. People used bots, either developed by themselves or by others, to automate sales and purchases, and used the newly centralized backpack with its set currencies to make listings. Before long, people started to rise as what were now referred to as trader mains, people with the time, skill, or excess cash to dump into the game who solely traded items either to make a profit or to get their ideal loadouts. And no, not all the people who do that are bad. Some just really enjoy their weird niche, be that glitch hats, or be that glitch items, a certain hat, or in my case skins, and collect it as such. Others, not so much. Here's where we see the rise of the monopolies in the economy. A handful of backpacks that own seemingly everything and only let it go if you pay through the nose. These top backpacks are probably the main reason everything, quote, nice these days seems so expensive, with a group of maybe 150 people at the most trading items between each other, raising the value of everything with each trade made. The two easiest ways to see this are old Halloween unusual effects and spelled items. Let's start with spells first, because they're the thing most people are going to have, some kind of experience owning or seeing. Those of you out of the know, spells are items that could be dropped in-game during the Screen Fortress event and applied to your weapons or cosmetics to give them special effects. Tens of thousands of these spells dropped, and while some are more rare and desirable than others, there are still a metric fuckload of them out there. Counter.tf has a list of everything known for these, or for those interested, and I'll put it in the description. The most common and cheapest spell is generally Exorcism, which was applicable to any weapon that can do damage. Let's take an example for one that was slapped on a lot, the frying pan. According to the website I mentioned above, there are over 3,000 pans with Exorcism. Their price? 6 keys. Now, I know the pan is popular and spells stopped being applicable to items in 2015, and that supply and demand is a real decider of market value, but a normal pan is only a couple of refined. That spell jumps the price to over $10. Now, what about the other one I mentioned there, the old Halloween effects? Well, back in the day, there was a general pool of unusual effects someone could get during the Screen Fortress events. Even back then, these effects could be pricey, but there were also some stinkers and some underrated gems. Now, Jesus H. Tap Dancing Christ. Back in the day, I remember being offered the Poison Shadows Glasgow Great Helm 1-for-1 for an Australian sniper rifle. Now, that same unpriced hat has a buy order of over 700 keys. Just for another personal example, I've owned exactly one of these old effects ever, and it's one that I personally unboxed. These old effects were available on case hats exactly once, where I opened the strange Chirapatra Venatata prehistoric pullover. Back when I opened it, people said I'd be lucky to get 200 to 500 keys from it. I sold it for $6,000 cash. Price never updated on my backpack because they don't allow Manco sales or pricings, but you can find it if you look over there. This general trend has been happening for essentially any item or effect considered, quote, good enough to become an investment opportunity. Now, what does that mean for the average user? Well, for those who don't care about unusual effects or fancy weapons, absolutely fuck all. It's easier than ever for someone to get enough metal to make 9 fantastic loadouts of craft hats, or the handful of case cosmetics that are actually good enough to use. At most, $5, and between the centralized hubs, you can look great. Good for you. What about the people who do care? Well, if appearances don't matter or you just don't care, you can get strange versions of most weapons for a nominal sum. Cheap war paints are a dime a dozen, stack locks are cheap too, and sometimes strange case paints are even cheaper. Now, there are skins you can't get with war paints, so to get them strange you'll have to shell out a decent amount. Great. And I'm not even going to start unusual weapons because that's a can of worms I've never even tried to understand, and I collect skins. But how about an unusual hat? Well, chances are you're going to get stuck with either an effect you like and a hat you don't, or the other way around with a hat you like and an effect you don't. Either way, you're probably going to be more tolerating your loadout than enjoying it, even more so if you want a hat for each class or an all-class that you can use for all of them. And if you're really on a budget, you'll be settling for one of the recent hats that have been unboxed en masse, with one of however many crappy effects the Emporium have squirted out on just as many crappy hats, dumped into the game by an uncaring Valve. And I don't think that you can just unbox your dream hat either. I pulled an amazing one in a few cases, but I am the vast minority. Most of the people that pull anything good dump thousands into this game and get a fraction of that back with fancy hats. You're more likely to get another dog shit to your hat that you're going to tolerate or sell on if you get an unusual at all. The only real way to get a good hat with a good effect is pay one of the handful of people at the top of the economy that have consolidated everything into their inventories. See, I mentioned it before, but there's a couple hundred people at the top of the backpack listings that have consolidated most of the hats and effects that the community has deemed good, and now trade them between each other as an ever-increasing spiral of value that only goes up and keeps pricing out the average player. These hats rarely move to a backpack that's not already one of the top ones, unless someone new with a lot of cash has decided to jump in and start buying stuff up for real-world money. There's no other way to break into this elite cabal without having an external revenue source. For those of you that have done a little trading before, you might be wondering, oh well, what about making profit trading? Buying quick sells, flipping? Well, yeah, at one point that was possible, but you're still going to need an external money source to get the keys to start, and then compete against every other person trying to do the same thing, with every bot with a listed buyout that someone who really needs quick keys can just dump to and not have to worry about someone being online or not. Essentially, it's not something you do reliably or often. Scrap to unusuals are not a thing anymore unless you're going for the worst possible taunt effect you could get. So, what's the solution to this? The way to fix it? I have no goddamn idea. This is me using my own experience with the TF2 economy to rant about the poor state it's in for the average user. There is nothing that the average or most players can really do about it, considering how entrenched all of this is. Hell, I even tried making my own version of Backpack so people could freely look stuff up without using Backpack's premium feature, and frankly, the TF2 item API is so dogshit that I gave up, and I have a professional background in website development. This is just me trying to get people informed about how bad this is as a whole so that people know what's going on with the whole, quote, economy. Anyways, have a day. This was Taco Town, signing off.